Ben and Graham show you their big movie listicles. This week, the top 10 worst Oscar travesties.
Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm Graham.
And we're here to talk movie lists and
Listicles.
Listicles, to be more specific, yeah.
Lovely listicles.
Everybody loves a good list, don't they?
They love a
love a good
listicle.
list. They like putting things in order.
Yes.
Ranking things from best to worst or worst to best.
It appeals to my OCD.
It appeals to everybody. I mean, I think it's a male preoccupation, but I think there are some women out there that like to categorise things as well.
It's what you want to put on your Tinder, isn't it? Come here with me. I'll show you my lists.
I'll show you my
rubbing your
that's
legs.
really making it sound nerdy. I've always liked lists. I love putting things in order, and that's what this show is going to be about, isn't it, Graham?
Yes.
Putting movies into some kind of order, arranging them, and we're going to start with something
Order out of chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to start with something that is so germane because it has just been Oscar period, Oscar time. Oscar period.
Oscar has a period?
No, we've just had some serious
Modern
Oscar
guy.
business, and as it's not being referred to, EEAAO cleaned up.
Yes. That's
Everything,
not been
everywhere,
anything
all at once. Totally cleaned up. And what did it get? Best film?
Do you know why?
But why?
Because all the other films that came out were either remakes, sequels, or adapted from a comic book.
That's very interesting.
It was an original idea.
It was, and
And I think that should be awarded because I want to see more movies that are made for the sake of making a movie.
The problem is, Graham, there'll be a sequel now because it's been so successful. There will be a sequel.
That's not a problem. Look, there's been sequels going back to the dawn of time. The Iliad had a sequel. The Bible had a sequel. Shakespeare wrote a sequel.
Bible had a sequel.
Mozart wrote a freaking sequel.
What was the sequel to the Bible?
The New Testament.
No, the Old Testament
And
had a sequel.
then the Book of Mormon.
Okay.
If
now,
you're
hang on a
into
minute.
that
That's
kind of thing.
okay. We're getting a little bit off.
I'm just saying, like, look, sequels
Yeah,
are not. Mozart wrote a sequel.
He did. Well, we're not talking sequels this week. We will get to sequels. What we're going to be doing is every week for about 25, 30 minutes talking through our top 10 lists. Now, we want you to get involved as well. So we're going to run... No, not you.
Oh.
We are involved.
Okay, good.
We've been involved
Thank
since
God.
the dawn of time, matey. No, we want our little audience of 17, 18, maybe more, to get involved by voting for our top 2. So we're going to run down numbers 10 to 3.
Yes.
When we get to the top 2, Graham's favourite or worst, my favourite or worst, we're going to present our case as to why they should both be number 1.
Yeah.
On Twitter...
But they can't both be number 1.
They can't both be number 1. That's just
one
not
has
possible.
to be number 1. We're not doing joint honours here.
No, we're not having any of that nonsense.
No participation certificates for us.
Well, to ensure there is a winner, and it's entirely above board and fair, we're putting it to you on Twitter. So underneath every show that you can listen to here on Mixcloud or YouTube, wherever you happen to be listening, there will be a link to a special Twitter account with a poll for this and every week's show. You'll have a full 6 days to place your vote.
Yeah.
And you're simply voting for the Graham's choice or my choice to be the number 1. And we'll present our case. And we'll get back to you in the following week's show with a little bit of review. And we will be keeping score, won't we?
Yes.
We're going to be keeping score.
I will win.
We shall see about that.
Every time.
But,
or at least I should win.
Absolutely. Now, also, just to say ahead of time, if you like what we're doing, I'm squeaking, aren't I?
You are squeaking.
I'll stop moving around.
Stop moving.
If you like what we're doing, we have a Ko-fi site as well as our Twitter site and our YouTube site and our Mixcloud site. So
what is Ko-fi?
Ko-fi is your opportunity to say, I like what you guys are doing. You've given up your own time to do this. Here's a beer. Here's a coffee.
So
here's
people
a cup
go
of
on
tea.
there and buy us a beer.
Sort of literally. £2.
£2.
Which
I
buys
can
you
buy a beer.
Does that buy you a beer?
Yeah, in Liverpool.
In Liverpool it does. It doesn't around here. Or it certainly buys you a coffee. Okay, so you can slippers, you can donate, you can give us a couple of quid. Now, there is something else as well. We figured that some of you out there might be big movie fans like us.
Yes.
And you might want to have your own dedicated show, a top 10 of your choice. So...
Sounds like a plan.
It does, doesn't it? For 50 quid. 50 quid.
50 smackaroons.
We will record within 1 month of your donation your top 10 show dedicated to you personally. Yeah, I know why he's laughing. Look,
This could go so horribly wrong.
It could go pear-shaped.
Anything you want.
Anything you want. Well, it's movies, obviously.
Yeah, it's gotta be
so
movies.
it could be a genre, it could be a decade, it could be a director's best or worst, or it could be something a little bit more niche, shall we say.
I just imagine people saying, I want this top 10, and it's like something absolutely dreadful. It'll either be some dreadful porn or some obscure Polish director, and we have to sit there for 20 hours watching all their movies.
Look, what we will promise you, we will do the homework. We've done the homework for all the 10 shows we've already got planned, but we'll do the homework for you. So if you want...
So you don't have to.
If you want a show dedicated to you, and obviously our top 2 choices put to the public vote to see who's right and who's wrong.
I'm right.
50 quid. It's done.
Okay, let's do this.
We're going to crack on with the very first show now. And because it's Oscar week, or it has been Oscar week, we are doing our top 10 biggest, worst, greatest Oscar travesties.
Travesties.
What's a travesty, Graham?
A travesty is a disaster.
It's when Oscar got it wrong.
Yeah.
Big time. I mean, really got it wrong. And we're not talking when they got it wrong, like with the envelope that said La La Land when it should have said
Moonlight.
Moonlight.
Not
that
Spotlight,
kind of wrong.
that was a year earlier.
Exactly. And not Will Smith giving it a little bit of the argy-bargies. We're not talking about that kind of wrong. There was no violence this year. It was boring. It was boring.
Everyone watched it for the violence. It's like people watching motor racing. They only watch it for the crashes.
That is so true. Yeah, top 10 movie car crashes.
Humans are the
There's
worst.
a choice we could do. No, I know. No, well, look, this is the times when Oscar have awarded or not awarded some film or some director, and they've really screwed up.
Yes.
I mean, really screwed up.
up.
So we're going to go through our top 10 up to number 3, and then it's your turn to get involved. We've saved the best, the worst, till last.
Okay.
Right, so Graham, do you want to start off with number 10?
Number 10.
Number
right,
10.
Charlie Chaplin.
Okay.
Charlie Chaplin made all of his own movies. He didn't just act in them. He shot them. He edited them. He did the music for them.
He did.
He directed them. Like he was this one man auteur. And then in the 1940s or 50s, Hollywood decided that he was a big fat communist and he should bugger off to Switzerland for the rest of his life. And the mad thing is, although he did win 2 honorary Oscars, and in the 70s, 1973, he won an Oscar for the music for a film that he did. He never won the Oscar for Best Director or for Actor. And that is absolutely shocking.
It is,
to me.
isn't it? I mean, we're talking City
travesty.
Lights, we're talking Gold Rush, we're talking Great Dictator.
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on and on.
Great Dictator, I mean, what a movie. And that came out during World War II.
Surely he got an honorary Oscar. Did he get an honorary Oscar?
Yeah, he got 2 honorary Oscars.
But they're so...
One in 1929 and another one years later.
Okay.
I think it wasn't until like... In 1971, I think it was, he was at the Oscars and everyone gave him a standing ovation because he had been shut out for 20 years.
It's not the same thing, is it?
Of the communist witch trials.
Oh, I see. McCarthy.
McCarthy.
Yeah,
so they thought that he was a communist, and so, he went to live in Switzerland and didn't make any more movies.
That is unbelievable. I didn't actually know that. That is... Okay, that's pretty... And that's only number 10. Number 9.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what you think about this. I'm squeaking again.
Yeah, stop squeaking, Ben.
All right. He's given me the squeaky seat. He gets the seat that doesn't squeak.
I'm used to that one.
We will swap for the next show. How much fun is that?
Have
Right,
the
number 9, and this is a no-brainer. Kramer versus Kramer. Now, Kramer versus Kramer, 1979 is a legal drama directed by someone called Robert Benton. Now, I've never heard of Robert Benton. I had to go and research that because I thought, well, surely this director winning an Oscar went on to great things. Can you name another Robert Benton film? I don't think so. Now, that's only part... Jaws 4.
No, I'm joking.
It might have been.
It might have been, who knows.
Kramer versus Kramer was a dull, insipid, Channel 5, blurry-edged, fuzzy screen, sort of disease... Well, it's not disease of the week.
So
it's about a divorce.
Dustin Hoffman and Mel Streep, is it?
Exactly.
Is that who's in it?
Exactly. The greatest actor and actress of all time, doing what they do in a courtroom. It was a custody divorce. I mean, honestly, it's so Channel 5.
I'm pretty sure
pathetic.
the kid had a really annoying haircut as well.
More than likely. That's only part of the travesty, that won Best Picture. Do you know what didn't win Best Picture in 1979?
Deer Hunter.
I don't know. Well, no. Apocalypse Now. Now, not only is Apocalypse Now the greatest war film ever made, that's not up for debate, by the way. We haven't done war films. We will do war films. It is. It's as simple as that. It didn't win against a really naff Channel 5 courtroom drama. Just because it's Meryl Streep, it's Dustin Hoffman. Apocalypse Now.
They weren't legends back in the 1970s.
Anyway, I'm going to get upset about that if I talk about it anymore. So,
Just to clarify before we go on, so when we say the year, that's the year the movie came out. Obviously, the Oscar ceremony would be in the February of the year
That's
after.
true, but a bit needlessly pedantic. But
I know, but
that's fine.
Just
Okay.
so people don't go, well, actually, the
Graham,
1979 winner was...
Yeah, number 8, Graham. Number 8.
Number 8, Hitchcock. So I've done Chaplin, another great British director, and snubbed mercilessly. This is a guy who invented suspense. This is the guy who changed the rules of cinema with Psycho. This is the guy who went out there and experimented at the top of his game and made these amazing movies that using techniques that no one else had even thought of. And, you know, famous for the reverse dolly zoom in.
Oh, yeah, that's in Vertigo, the stairwell.
Yeah, which was then used by Spielberg in Jaws and other movies.
Everybody else.
Everyone else copied off him.
They did.
And he never won the best. He never won the best director Oscar. He won the best picture for Rebecca, but not the director Oscar. He never got it. He got an honorary award, and that was it.
Right, and that was more of a studio picture. I mean, it was obviously a Hitchcock picture, but we're talking Vertigo, North by Northwest, Psycho. Strangers on the Train. A Shadow of Doubt, Rope. I mean, it's about 60 plus films, isn't it?
Oh yeah. He
never once won Best
them
Director,
and they're all pretty good. Even the crap ones at the end, like Marty and Frenzy, they're still worth a watch.
What's your conspiracy theory as to why he never won? I mean, there's got to be a reason.
He's British, I think. I don't know.
Could be. Maybe it's the horror element just put off some members, stuffy old blue rinse members of the Academy. Just thought horror. Nah, sorry, I can't have a horror director winning Best Picture.
He did like his you know, they had the Hays Code back then, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
And a lot of his movies went very close to the edge. Famously, Psycho had to be recut for the censors in America. The shower scene in Psycho.
And do you know what? That was the first time they ever showed a toilet being flushed on screen.
Because there are these mad rules, are the Hays rules. One of them was you can't show a toilet. Another one is like, if you have two people in a room and there's a bed in the room, one of them's always got to keep a foot on the ground.
I didn't know that. Seriously?
Like they were playing snooker.
Oh my word. Okay.
So that's absolute travesty. What were you thinking, Oscars?
Unbelievable.
Why did you not give him the best director?
Well, that's number 8, isn't it? So we're now on number 7. My number 7 is 1982. Now, in 1982, Gandhi won Best Picture, which I'm not saying Gandhi's a bad film. Ben Kingsley.
E.T.
Yeah, but you just hang on a minute. We'll get to that. Yes, of course I've written E.T. because that's part of the travesty. That is the travesty.
What?
The travesty is that in 1982, Gandhi won Best Film at the Oscars. A biopic, very noble, very earnest, very worthy.
Absolutely monumental. The film at the Guinness World Record for the most extras in a scene.
Okay.
Directed by Richard Attenborough.
Wow.
One of our greatest directors and actors.
Okay, you can big it up all you like, but it's on the list because E.T. didn't win, and there is
stuff E.T.
Hang on a minute. There is no debate that E.T. is the best family film ever made by the most globally renowned and distinguished director with a career where he's only ever put a foot on about twice.
Go out to the nearest school, right? Well, you can't right now because they're all on strike. And go and ask the kids if they've seen E.T.
Oh, I'm sorry. And all those kids will immediately say, no, we haven't seen E.T. Ben, but we have seen Gandhi. We have seen Gandhi.
No, you're talking about the best family film. I guarantee they'll have seen Star Wars.
Okay. My point is that in 1982, Gandhi won over E.T. And look, E.T. is not only Spielberg's best film, it is the best family.
Not.
It's by far his best film. What are you going to say? Schindler's List, aren't you?
No.
Are you going to Jurassic Park?
No. Saving Private Ryan, which I'm going to come on to next in a moment.
Okay,
if you'll let me.
All right, okay. Well, excuse me.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid that's number 7, isn't it? I'm losing count in my emotional resonance here. But no, I mean, come on. Gandhi versus E.T., no contest.
We can't agree on everything, Ben.
Oscar travesty. End of. Your turn.
I would have E.T. on the list if it had won against Gandhi. I would have said that should have won.
That is so ridiculous. It's beneath
Gandhi
me.
is an incredible movie.
It is. I'm not saying it's not.
Ben Kingsley is incredible in it.
I'm not saying he's not. But let's move on.
And Ben Kingsley has Indian heritage, so you can't accuse him of...
Let's move on.
Right, Shakespeare in Love, 1998.
We're at number 6 now,
1998, yeah.
Yep.
Shakespeare in Love.
Okay.
Beat Saving Private Ryan and The Thin Red Line, Terrence Malick's Thin Red Line, which was actually a sequel to what?
I don't know, actually.
There's a sequel to From Here to Eternity.
What, The Thin Red Line?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Written by the same author.
Some
and it's a
beautiful
continuation of the same-
Melanesian music in that film.
It is a beautiful.
It's a great film.
A beautifully shot war movie.
Yeah, lots of shots of long grass waving in the breeze. A great war movie. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll move on.
No, but like Shakespeare in Love,
Yeah.
absolute garbage. Well,
Yeah.
not. I mean, disposable popcorn crap. It was a movie that you'd watch once and then instantly
Isn't
forget
that
about
the film that Judi Dench literally turned up and phoned in a performance for 8 minutes and won the Best Supporting Actress?
I think she did, actually,
She
yeah.
did.
She turned up
as
as
Queen
Queen
Elizabeth,
Elizabeth, yeah.
and got Best Supporting Actress. She's on screen for about 8 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I have to give you that on that basis.
And it's okay. It's a little rom-com set in the olden days. Period drama. But compared with those first few minutes of Saving Private Ryan, which is some of the most
I'll give you that.
visceral, realistic, like that's what it was like being on the, to actually be transported to this horrific place on the D-Day landings. I mean,
I
it
will
did
say
such an amazing job.
It did, and there's some great stuff in Saving Private Ryan. But the one big flaw, which is a plot hole for me in that film, is that the film.
Matt Damon.
Hang on, no, not Matt Damon. The film tells you how horrific, and it does a brilliant job of demonstrating just how viscerally horrific and gut-wrenching and awful war was. And then at the end of that film, you've got Matt Damon saying, "No, I want to stay here with my buddies and continue fighting." It makes no sense. You would think he's got a chance to get out of this. He's taken it. No, he doesn't. He stays.
Isn't it based on a true story?
Well, it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. It's just a ridiculous plot. Anyway, we're going to move on. Was that 10, 9, 8, 7, 6? Oh, this is number 5. Right, number 5 is a little bit like a couple of that Graham did. It's The Departed, 2000. I think it was 2000.
No, it was
2006. It was 2006.
It was a remake, wasn't it?
It was a remake of
Infernal Affairs.
which is a pretty good film. So it's not so much that The Departed won, but a bit like Hitchcock and a little bit like Chaplin, it took Oscar 30 years to give a Best Picture award to Martin flippin' Scorsese.
And it wasn't one of his best films.
And it wasn't bad. All his films are pretty good. It wasn't one of his best. Gangs of New York, a couple of years earlier, probably should have won over it. But let's just look at the 3 that really missed out, that are just a joke. 1976, he didn't win for Taxi Driver. Do you know what won? Rocky. 1980, he didn't win for Raging Bull. Do you know what won? Ordinary People, Robert Redford. Yawn Fest. And this is even worse. 1990, he didn't win for Goodfellas. Dances with Wolves.
Yes, I'm good at this.
A 3-decade-long snore fest that no one has ever sat through till the end. That's a fact.
You turned
I've looked it up.
Didn't you, Ben?
Look, it's nothing to do with that. Seriously, Martin Scorsese waiting 30 years for a Best Picture Oscar in 2006 and finally getting one for an average
film. For an all-right film.
Exactly.
An all-right remake.
Not good. We're at number 4 now. We're at number 4. Graham, what's number 4?
Well, talking of Martin Scorsese, Gangs of New York, which came out in 2002, along with Chicago. Chicago won the Best Picture Oscar in 2002 against Gangs of New York, The Hours, the Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers, and The Pianist, which he shouldn't have won because it was Roman Polanski and he's a wrong good. But seriously, Chicago is shite.
It is.
I'm quite a big fan of musicals. Actually, you wouldn't think that looking at me, but I am. But it's a shit musical. It's a shit musical, and it's a shit film. It's just. It's got any style or pizzazz, funnily enough, considering it's got a song number called All
Tell me
That
the
Jazz.
plot. What's the plot of Chicago?
It's about a woman who kills her husband and basically gets away with it.
Wow.
And it's shite. It's just shite. It doesn't really have much of a plot. The woman who played the lead role in it...
Is that Catherine Zeta-Jones? No, it's the other one, Renée Zellweger.
Renée Zellweger.
Yes.
She just didn't seem to have the charisma that you need for a musical. I don't know, it was just shite. Hollywood loves musicals, like in 1968, I think Oliver
won, rightly. But let's look at some of the musicals that probably
over
could have...
2001 A Space Odyssey.
Some of the musicals that could have won. I mean, I think it was 2000, 2001, Moulin Rouge, a considerably better musical than Chicago.
Absolutely.
I don't think it didn't get anything at all.
No.
I don't think so. No, you're spot on with Chicago.
But Chicago, it's got to be up there pretty high.
Right, and the final one that we're going to...
This is also contentious. All your
I'm
ones.
sorry. No, look, I've let you have yours say. This is not. I'll tell you why this is not contentious, and it's a little bit like the Hitchcock one. It's a bit like Chaplin. It's a bit like Scorsese. 1989.
I'm not a racist, but
No, I'm not a racist, but Driving Miss Daisy won Best Picture. Now, hang on a minute. Let me explain.
What's wrong with that?
Right, I'll tell you what's wrong with that. And what's wrong with that is the Spike Lee syndrome, the Spike Lee scenario, the Spike Lee issue. Spike Lee, that year, made probably his best film, Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing.
It wasn't even nominated for Best
was it
Picture.
not?
No.
Oh, okay.
And it dealt with the race issue in a gritty, real, original, tangible, really hot topic, debatable way. In that Driving Miss Daisy simply had the black guy driving the white woman.
White Jewish woman.
White Jewish woman for a couple of hours. Now, that would be bad enough in itself. Just for reference, the other films that were nominated and didn't win over Driving Miss Daisy were Born on the 4th of July, My Left Foot, come on, Dead Poet Society, I'll give you that one because I can't stand it, and Field of Dreams, which is magical. It's magical. Shut up.
Field of Dreams is... I mean, what's interesting about this is that Driving Miss Daisy doesn't have the same sort of legs as Field of Dreams.
Yeah,
like
but there's another issue to this. There's another really awful edge. If you're Spike Lee and you're listening, man, I'm so sorry. Because I can't remember the year, but it was fast forward to about a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, a film called Green Book won Best Picture.
Yeah.
That was a film where the black character was in the back, admittedly. He was the wealthy one being driven around, being chauffeured by the white character, the New York Jewish Viggo Mortensen, who was in the front of the car. But once again, that year, Spike Lee dealt with the race issue with Black Klansman, which didn't win again.
It was nominated.
It was nominated. But if you're Spike Lee, to literally not win twice against a movie where a black or white character is driving the other around for 2 hours when you deal with the race issue in a way that is incomparable, is second to none. I'm surprised Mike Lee didn't storm the Oscar stage in a Jarvis Cocker style and just do one, because I mean, to be honest, that was very nearly my contender for number one. That was very nearly my contender. But Graham, what's your contender for the top spot? Now, this is the one that you're going to get to vote for.
I think you're going to win this because people have heard of your movie, and that's my point, okay?
Okay.
No one has heard of the 1941 movie, How Green Was My Valley.
True.
Now, if someone came up to me and said, how green is my valley? I'll say, I think you should go to the doctor and get some ointment for that. I don't know. But, like, seriously, this is a film set in Wales. In Wales. I mean, it was shite. I mean, it was
I've never seen it.
No one's ever seen it. No one on the planet has seen it. No one listening to this has seen How Green Was My Valley.
Be honest, have you seen it?
Yes.
Is that the truth?
Yeah, I've actually seen it.
Okay.
But honestly, I've forgotten it.
Yeah,
I've forgotten everything that happens in it because I think Scarlett O'Hara was in it. Maybe?
I can't speak intelligently about it.
From,
over to you,
Gone with
mate.
the Wind. But it was up against Citizen Kane.
Never heard of it.
Widely regarded, quite rightly, as the greatest movie of all time. When we talk about Hitchcock or Chaplin, I mean, Orson Welles, he was in his mid-20s. Yeah. He wrote it, he directed it, he starred in it, and he absolutely smashed it out the park. And the techniques, the camera techniques and the way it was all set up was absolutely phenomenal. Really gripping story. You've got this narrative going through of what Rosebud is. But the reason why it didn't win is even more frustrating. At the time, there was a guy called William Randolph Hearst, who was the Rupert Murdoch of his day.
Yes, yeah.
And basically, Citizen Kane was a pastiche or a parody, perhaps, of his life. And so he unleashed the dogs of hell.
He didn't like it, did he?
The hounds of hell against this movie. Because one of the things about it is that, you know, the word rosebud, apparently, that was the name that he gave a very intimate part of his mistress.
I believe that's true, and we won't give away, because we're not doing movie rug pulls, we won't give away the real meaning behind Rosebud.
Yes.
But that's a pretty good shot.
I mean, I'm
That's
sorry, but
shot.
like it was Citizen Kane was torpedoed, and I don't believe that Orson Welles never reached those levels again. His next movie came out, The Magnificent Ambersons, which wasn't really well received.
You'd be discouraged by that, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
you really
he
would.
did do some good stuff after that. He did the Third Man, where he played Harry Lime, the Cuckoo Clock.
Yes, he did.
He did. There was one movie, and I've forgotten what it's called, but it had Charlton Heston playing a Mexican for some reason.
I know, but that's a really good film.
Yeah.
That was much later in his career.
Yeah.
But, he never reached those heights again. That's a pretty good shot for the number one spot.
A Touch of Evil.
A Touch of Evil. Yeah. That's the Charlton Heston one.
Yeah.
That's a really good film. That is a really good film.
And what was Oscar? What was his last movie? Orson Welles' last movie?
Hang on! It's the Transformers, isn't it?
Yes.
He voiced
Unicron, the planet,
in a cartoon version, which of course is infinitely better than having to sit through Michael Bay's crap. But anyway, good try, but there's no contest here. The biggest Oscar travesty of all time, in my view, is 1994. Not only the film that did win, but the two films that a really good stab at being the best film of the 90s, if not ever made. Forrest Gump won in 1994, off the back of Tom Hanks' performance in Philadelphia the year before, which, granted, was a good performance. He was playing, I think it was a lawyer who was dying of AIDS. He then thinks, one Oscar for Best Actor is not enough for me, I'm going for it again. So he plays a guy who's in some way mentally challenged or slow. It's never really discussed what is wrong with Forrest Gump. But I'm sorry, run, Forrest, run. You speak to anyone, they'll say, oh, but come on, Ben. Run, Forrest, run. Yeah, into a freight train, into a burning building, fine.
Do you think it was actually a bad movie?
Right, I'll tell you why it's a bad movie. We'll get on to the two that should have won. It's a bad movie because it gives the impression that literally anyone can do anything. That's so Hallmark. That's so movie of the week. That's so woke. I'm afraid sometimes you can't. I'm not 6 foot tall. I'm never going to be a basketball player. I don't buy that Tom Hanks, with the problems he's got in that movie, can become a world-renowned ping pong player, run around the world about 18 times, develop a brand of, was it seafood? He goes to sea with Gary Sinise.
Yeah.
It's just preposterous.
He's given a hot tip by
preposterous.
By Bubba
It hits all the emotional notes. The soundtrack tells you when to laugh a bit, when to cry a bit. There's no surprises in it. It's just so formulaic. And guess what didn't win? I mean, I can't even believe I'm saying this. The Shawshank Redemption and Pulp Fiction. Now, Pulp Fiction is easily the second best film of the 90s. Shawshank is the best and probably the best film of all time. The Academy got to see those two films. They looked at Pulp Fiction, they looked at Shawshank, and they thought, no, Forrest Gump's better than both of them. Absolute dog's rubbish. Now, that's all I can say about that.
I agree with you to a certain extent. I think that Forrest Gump was responsible for the willful stupidity that followed in the following 29 years, where people thought that there was something kind of charming about people being thick
And I'm sorry,
as mints.
life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Yes,
rubbish. You know exactly what you're going to get.
On the chocolate, on the front.
Thank you for your support in helping the audience make their mind up that I'm right.
But I would say that who was it who directed Frank Darabont? Was it who directed
Forrest Gump? That was It was Zemeckis. Robert Zemeckis.
Was it?
Yeah, it was Zemeckis. No, Darabont directed.
Stand By Me.
No, Frank Darabont directed the Stephen King written Shawshank Redemption. And of course, Quentin Tarantino directed
Shawshank Redemption, that's what I just said.
No, Quentin Tarantino directed Pulp Fiction.
So who directed? I thought it was Frank Darabont.
No, Frank Darabont directed Shawshank Redemption.
That's
Robert Zemeckis, who directed the brilliant
I didn't say Robert
Back
Zemeckis.
to the Future.
You said that.
You said Frank Darabont directed Forrest Gump. No, he didn't. It was Robert Zemeckis. Anyway.
Oh, sorry. I meant. Rewind the tape.
Rewind the tape. You'll see what he said.
You'll
see what he said. Anyway, he's confused.
I said Forrest, but I was thinking of Shawshank.
Run, Forrest. Right, okay. The two you have got to vote for are 1941, How Green Was My Valley, winning Best Picture over Citizen Kane.
Over Citizen Kane. That's a specific thing. So
That's a specific
Citizen
thing.
Kane not winning in 1941 against a movie that is so forgettable. We've had to look at the piece of paper with its name on because we can't even remember its name.
You've made your case.
That's how forgettable it is.
That or 1994, Forrest Gump beating Shawshank Redemption and Pulp Fiction. And it's Quentin's best film. It's no contest. So all you got to do is head on over to Twitter using the link you'll find underneath this show in the description, both on YouTube and on Mixcloud. You've got 6 days from the day this goes out. And also, what we want to hear is where we got it wrong, what we missed off our list. Underneath, in the replies, in the comments, you can tell us what we should have put in our top 10s and what we got wrong. We want to hear.
What's your Oscars travesty?
There's more. I mean, honestly, it was hard to whittle it down to just those 10, but we did.
Some pretty crap movies, that one.
So thanks for listening. And if you want to drop us a coffee or a beer, please do. The link for that is also in the description underneath this podcast on YouTube and Mixcloud. And we'll see you same time next week for another episode, won't we, Graham?
We will indeed. We'll see you then.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.